Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes so sweet and sexy. Have fun, enjoy the journey. Or just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just the YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade. Sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. Is a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Sack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Proctor and Michigas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Good morning. Good morning, my friends. It's just another Manic Monday. It's just another Manic Monday. Today's Monday, June 8th of 2026. And Michael Proctor gets until 4:15 p.m. today. 4:15 p.m. today to come up with some real excuses about why he can't appear for his deposition. I was on the Zoom feed this morning. And the Zoom number was not the regular Zoom number that it usually is for Judge Gilday. So I think I was a couple of minutes late. If anybody else was in the Zoom room, maybe you can help me out if you were in the correct Zoom room. They had a little bit of a hearing, and Diller was not there today, interestingly enough. Diller was not there. There was an attorney by the name of Mr. Buck representing Diller's office. And it was mostly Damon Seligson and Mr. Buck and the judge speaking the entire time. I do not see that anybody has posted a video of it yet. But oh, thank you. This is Green. This is University of Hawaii representing. I always have the merch. And the judge's order has not yet been filed, although he did read his order into the record. He actually took a break for about 20 minutes to go draft an order and then come back. So for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, around 2 p.m. on Friday, after Karen Reed and Alan Jackson appeared on the Today Show, and then Alan Jackson appeared on Billy Bush, but before Karen Reed appeared on World News Tonight, that evening, Michael Proctor, around 2:10 p.m. on Friday, filed an emergency order trying to move his deposition, which is scheduled for today. And I guess I did a show Friday night. We watched part of the Billy Bush interview with Alan Jackson, in which he said that he was in Boston. He came here. He flew here Boston, especially for, he flew to New York for the Today Show, then flew to Boston, especially to do Proctor's deposition. And Proctor, at the last minute, his attorney filed this motion saying it's an emergency. He can't make it. He's not trying to get out of it altogether, but he can't make it. And so the judge ordered on Friday this emergency hearing for 8:45 a.m. this morning on Zoom, and demanded that if anybody wanted to file any papers, they had to file them by 5 p.m. last night, which is Sunday. So everyone had to work over the weekend. Those papers have not yet been scanned into the docket. And I don't think the order has yet been scanned into the docket. But as always, if anybody knows if Trial Channel is going to put it up, we'll look at it. Nobody broadcasts it. We're not allowed to broadcast it. It's a whole thing with Judge Gilday. So here is what happened. before we do that, let's give some people a chance to get in because, that's what we do here. And also, we need to read our motivational quote of the day. I'll read you one from yesterday, and then I'll read you one from today. So yesterday's motivational quote of the day from Nelson Mandela: "It always seems impossible until it's done." It always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela, dropping pearls of wisdom on you. There's one. That's from yesterday, June 7th, 2026. And then today's focus. Gotta give the lighting a chance to catch up. Today is a Calvin Coolidge quote. "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent and women. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." Okay, let's read that again, since it was a cold read for me and I stumbled. Calvin Coolidge said, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men and women with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." Thank you to Calvin Coolidge. Happy birthday to Linda M. Happy birthday, Linda M. There it is. That's Calvin Coolidge. He said it. And those are your pearls of wisdom for today. Also, let's do an empowerment card. And then I'm going to tell you what happened at the hearing because do not know if there is a video. If there is a video and it's not another creator's video, but a news video, like maybe Boston 25, Law and Crime, maybe somebody had it. Oh, that's so interesting. Addie said, "My mother gave me this Coolidge quote framed. I display both quotes at work to motivate my team." Good things come to those who work for them. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Good things come to those who work for them. Imagine that. Imagine having to work for good things instead of just being lucky and having everything just, fall into your lap. Here is what happened. Here are my bullet points. If we get a video of it, we'll watch it. If it comes into my inbox, we'll watch it. But it's hard for me to look while you guys are on the stream. Somebody, forget it. Never mind. Okay, here we go. So it started late. Didn't start exactly at 8:45. There were 270 people on the Zoom. Were you on the Zoom? I was on the Zoom. So Proctor's attorneys filed his name's Matt Hamel, Hamel. He filed some additional papers last night before 5 p.m. The judge said he found good cause to impound those affidavits. So whatever is in them, the judge felt should be kept private. It has something to do with medical information and an ongoing situation. And so the judge asked, well, if he can't do it today, do you have dates when he can? And attorney for Proctor said, well, this is an ongoing situation, and so I can't provide dates right now. Seligson was asked to argue, and he said that. So we really don't know what it is, but we're going to get into it a little bit more. Seligson said, well, Judge, the subpoena went out in April. We have prepared for this deposition extensively. We have incurred costs with this deposition. That the affidavit that was submitted by Proctor's attorneys is nothing but conclusory, having to do with health issues and some family commitments, using air quotes. I'm using air quotes, and that Alan Jackson flew in all the way from LA to do this deposition. According to the affidavit of Proctor or his attorneys, I'm not sure which, because we don't have the actual papers yet because they haven't been scanned into the court system. His attorneys only contacted him on June 3rd to prep him for his deposition. Alan Jackson was on the Zoom. He didn't have his camera on, and he did not speak. Seligson also said, our preparation for this deposition has been very strategic. And then the judge's like spidey senses went off. And Judge Gilday said, so Mr. Seligson, when you said you've been strategically preparing for this deposition, is that why you filed your lawsuit? Your new lawsuit with all of the explosive text messages I'm summarizing now. Okay, law girls, not attorneys. Okay, thank you. Let me summarize it for you first, and then if I can get the video, we'll watch the video. He said he was questioning, like, oh, really? Strategic? Is that why you filed your lawsuit on Thursday with all those damning texts against Proctor? And by the way, Mr. Seligson, did you tell Proctor's attorneys that you intended to file this lawsuit? Which I thought was a little bit odd because you don't need to notify someone's attorney that you need to file a lawsuit. The lawsuit against Michael Proctor has already been filed. That's been removed to federal court. He's a defendant in that case. The new lawsuit that was filed was the lawsuit against the Massachusetts State Police and the town of Canton, but it did have detailed text messages in there from Proctor, and Proctor should have his phone extraction, although we know that he had to make a motion to try and get it from Karen Reed's team, and the judge in federal court was like, yeah, no. So I thought that was an odd question, but it seems like the judge thinks that maybe there's something nefarious going on behind the scenes. Seligson then responded and said, well, no, I don't mean strategic. And he said, I know she went on the Today Show, and I know that she went on another news channel. Is this what you're talking about by strategic? And Seligson was like, no, by strategic, I mean, we just have an order that we want to do the depositions in, and Proctor's the one we want to do first before we do the others. And he said, we've also and if it's not going to happen today, we're going to ask for fees and costs. Diller was not there, so this attorney Buck said he takes no position. That's the plaintiff's firm. And then the judge took a little break. He took a little time out, and then he came out and he read his order into the record, which I do not have yet, but I just have short, important things that I wrote down. He said, there are a couple of things I want everyone to know. First of all, the subpoena should mean something. It needs to mean something. And that clients need to keep their attorneys informed. And that the affidavits that you provided on behalf of Proctor's attorney, are insufficient. Because all it talks about is some sort of family commitment and health issues. But it doesn't really give any more detail than that. I mean, if you had a graduation for one of your children or something, you would have known about that ahead of time, right? The judge wasn't happy, and he said, I'm going to delay my ruling until 4 p.m. today. I'm going to stay the subpoena for 24 hours, meaning this deposition might happen tomorrow, and there's going to be another 4:15 hearing by Zoom. And he also mentioned, the judge mentioned, he said, apparently he watched the Today Show interview, if you want to call it that. And he said, Karen Reed said in the Today Show interview that this has been the plan all along. When asked, why did you file this lawsuit now? You won. And she said, I was acquitted. Like, she didn't win anything. She lost everything, but she was acquitted. But the judge did mention that she said during that interview that this has always been the plan. We know the rest of that sentence was, I had to free myself first before I could go on and expose the corruption in Massachusetts. And then he brought up the rules of professional conduct. So let's see. You were telling me where to find this, so let me just take a quick look here. And see if we can find it. This is always on the fly. We're always on the fly here. So we have to look for things in real time. Please. Well, Law Girls has it, but I think she's talking over it, so I don't want. I want a clean video. Hold. I know. Poor Judge Gilday, says Scott Messerschmidt. He took the normally mundane and easy civil bench, and then this crazy train is dumped into his courtroom. I know. So basically, they've got until 4:15. There's going to be another hearing at 4:15 on Zoom. And it seems to me like he's going to force Proctor to do this deposition tomorrow, unless he's got some really good excuse, like he's an inpatient somewhere. But that's not what it said. It just said health concerns and family commitments. And so I don't have any further information than that about what Michael Proctor, what his issue is. But they're going to have some time to supplement. And if it's not good enough, I don't think the judge is going to buy it. And I think he may make him do it tomorrow at 9 a.m. But we will see. Thank you, Betsy, for coming in with your Venmo, XOXO. And Andrea says, how sorry to see your face, especially on a Monday. Some other things also happened over the weekend. The police interview of Patrick Noonan was released. Have you seen that? Because I'd like to look at that with you. That is something else that I'd like to do today until somebody posts a clean copy of the video of the Zoom hearing. But basically, that's exactly what happened. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns before we maybe move on to watching Noonan's interview. All right, hang on one second. I can't play someone else's content without their permission because I don't feel like being, stricken. Apparently, there's some big movement out there started by somebody who used to be a girlfriend of Aiden Carney, who's trying to convince everyone to go out there and strike everyone's channel. Have you seen this? Like 5 of you sent it to me. Grant's smoking a big doobie. All right, Grant, I'm going to beg you for permission. You did apologize to me, and I'm going to accept your apology because I feel like you were totally duped. All right, courtesy of Grant Smith Ellis, who has turned the corner and flipped to the Karen Reed, didn't hit Sean O'Keefe with her car side. And he has no qualms about smoking a big doobie on the air. Good for him. Good for him. Thanks to him, we have merch. We have the merch. I went to Cancun with attorney Melanie Little. It's all because of Grant. Here we go. This is the hearing from this morning. I'll zoom in a little bit.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
Yes, please.
Your Honor, for the record, Civil Action 2483 CV 0692. This is Paul O'Keefe individually and his personal representative of the estate of John Joseph O'Keefe
Can you hear? Everybody hear okay?
the third et al. Versus C&C Hospitality LLC doing business as C.F. McCarthy's et al. Counsel, please identify yourself for the benefit of the court and the record, starting with plaintiff's counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. Dan Buck for the plaintiffs.
Grant,
Morning.
Grant, just a tip for next time. Just like either zoom in on the person who's talking or make everybody into like the Brady Bunch because we can see it better. Oh, wait, Alan Jackson did have his camera on at one point. Okay.
Who do we have for CNC?
Good morning, Your Honor. Lincoln Rose on behalf of C.F. McCarthy's.
Lincoln
Good morning.
Rose.
And for the other establishment?
Good morning, Your Honor. Attorney John Dilly for Waterfall Bar and Grill.
Good morning. For Ms. Reed?
Good morning, Your Honor. Damon Seligson for defendant Karen Reed.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson from Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Your Honor. Aaron
Good morning.
Rosenberg.
Good morning, Your Honor. Arthur Maravellis for Karen Reed.
Well, welcome to all of you. Which one of you is going to be speaking?
I am, Your Honor, Damon Seligson.
Thank you. And for the deponent, Mr. Proctor.
Good morning, Your Honor. Matthew Hamill on behalf of Michael Proctor.
Good morning, Attorney Hamill. Apologize for the delay, but as is usual, our technology in the courts is not well equipped to do things such as this on the fly. So,
I mean, come on, you guys. It's 2026. When I logged on, there was something like 230 people on. Somebody else said there were $500 on. Property Brothers are in the house. Yes, 100%. That is Lincoln Rose. That's what we call him. He looks like the Property Brothers.
does Ms. Reed's attorneys want to be heard further on the motion to impound beyond what you wrote in opposition?
Your Honor, on the beyond what we've written in the opposition, no. With respect to the motion to impound only, we believe that certain aspects of it are appropriate for impoundment, but the majority of it is not, and that we stand by that position, Judge.
Okay. Attorney Hamill, do you want to be heard further?
Yes, Your Honor. We believe that the motion we've submitted in the materials that are provisionally impounded that we submitted to the court per the court's order readily support impoundment of those materials under Rule 2. We feel that we've put the majority of what we need to put into our papers, but for the court's information, within hours of our firm sending to the clerk and to counsel the motion and the 2 affidavits, which are provisionally impounded per the court's order, within hours, my client and his family members received harassing phone calls pertaining to information contained in those affidavits.
Wait, what? Wait, what? I didn't see this part. I told you I got into the wrong Zoom room. Hold on. Within hours of filing those affidavits, they got harassing phone calls. Who knows their phone number? Hold on. Nobody should do that. Don't do that, by the way. Don't do that.
Attorney Hamill, do you want to be heard further?
Yes, Your Honor. We believe that the motion we've submitted in the materials that are provisionally impounded that we submitted to the court per the court's order readily support impoundment of those materials under Rule 2. We feel that we've put the majority of what we need to put into our papers, but for the court's information, within hours of our firm sending to the clerk and to counsel the motion and the 2 affidavits, which are provisionally impounded per the court's order, within hours, my client and his family members received harassing phone calls pertaining to information contained in those affidavits.
Those affidavits are not on the court docket yet. They haven't been scanned. So how is that? How could that be? Is he going to blame Karen's team for leaking them again? Like he erroneously did in his papers about Sean Good's suspension order? Because that was received pursuant to FOIA request, by the way, by Queen Corey Hopkins, and she corrected the record on that.
I think it's safe to assume that the clerk's office did not disseminate that information on a Sunday afternoon, Your Honor. I obviously can't connect any dots, and I don't intend to do so here, but that is why we are seeking impoundment. This is obviously a very public case. I don't need to tell anyone that. But I don't believe that our client's medical personal information, a non-party to this case, needs to be all over the internet when we're just seeking a new deposition date.
I haven't seen it on the internet.
Your Honor, if I may respond to the inference from Mr. Hamill about how whatever he filed on Sunday ends up on the internet, there is I categorically deny and reject it.
Attorney he didn't point any fingers. He could have meant me. I don't know. So let's move on. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Thank you. So the next issue is the motion before the court. Before we get to that, I find that there's good cause to impound the material that's contained in the affidavits, and I'm gonna impound them provisionally at this time.
And I agree with that. Listen, his personal medical information, apparently there's not much in there. It just seems that it was very broad strokes, but it should be impounded. Nobody needs to know about his personal issues that are happening right now, and we shouldn't speculate about them either. So I don't, no matter how you feel about Proctor, I'm not doing that. And it should be sealed.
For purposes of this hearing. So Attorney Hamel, do you want to be heard on your motion relative to the deposition?
Your Honor, just briefly, and I'd like to address a few things that were noted in the response of Ms. Reed. Again, we're seeking very limited relief in nature, Your Honor. We're seeking a new deposition date. 99% of the time, I could pick up the phone and call opposing counsel, and this would be resolved without the need to involve Your Honor in the court. That's not the case here. Ms. Reed's opposition.
Attorney Hamel, hang on. I mean, normally you could.
Okay, this is great because the judge is going to spank him back. That was a backhanded slap at Karen Reed's attorneys for not allowing him to adjourn the deposition. 99% of the time, I could just, call opposing counsel and they would agree to adjourn the deposition, but not here, not in this case. And the judge is going to clap back on this right here. So pay attention.
Ms. Reed's opposition.
Attorney Hamel, hang on. I mean, normally you could, but normally it wouldn't be 4 or 5 days before the scheduled deposition. The information that you're relying upon would have been provided much sooner than that.
Understood, Your Honor. And I know Your Honor had a few specific questions in the order that was put out last week, including when we learned of that, the circumstances of Mr. Proctor's unavailability late Thursday. We informed counsel of his unavailability first thing Friday. I fully agree that the timing is unfortunate there, Your Honor. Ms. Reed's opposition seems to suggest that we first reached out to our client on Wednesday, June 3rd, about his deposition. That's false, and that's not in the affidavits. We communicated with our client about the deposition back in April when we agreed to reschedule the deposition at Ms. Reed's counsel's request. Again, we intend to produce Mr. Proctor for his deposition, but given the circumstances set forth in the provisionally impounded affidavits, we need a new date, and we believe we have put good cause on this record to obtain a new date.
Okay. I've been a civil litigator for over 30 years. I will tell you, it is very common to adjourn depositions even the day before the depositions. Everyone, well, I know I have a lot of calendar clerks in my office. Anybody who's ever worked as a calendar clerk in a law firm knows how that job is incredibly stressful and how hard it is. And depositions are very often adjourned the day before they happen. However, this is a very high profile case. This is a case in which the judge has been having none of it. This is a case in which the judge has been consistently spanking attorneys throughout these Zoom hearings to get this discovery done, to get the depositions done. And they have a deadline of something like August 27th to do all the depositions in this case. Okay, we're already at June 8th. And so, yeah, sometimes it's easy, but you reached out to your client in April. Did you never follow up? And we get it. You reached out to you and yeah, okay. So defense counsel, Karen's team adjourned it the first time. And now you're adjourning it, but really kind of on the eve of the deposition.
You state you'll produce him, but you don't give an indication in your filings when.
Yes, Your Honor. As noted in the impounded materials, my client's situation is ongoing. We are in constant communication with him, and we will provide dates as soon as possible to counsel. I understand we are on Mr. Proctor is not a party to this case, but we understand that the court is on an accelerated discovery schedule with a August, I believe, discovery deadline. We can get dates to counsel by the end of the week, if that would be satisfactory, and would be happy to provide a status report to the court on that once that's done.
He should have come in here with dates. He should have come in here with dates. He should have been ready with his dates. I don't know if Michael Proctor is an inpatient somewhere and he's going to be there for 30 days. I don't know. But you should have come in with dates and suggested them. Don't come in here arms a swinging with nothing and be like, yeah, maybe I can get you dates by the end of the week. That's not going to work. It doesn't matter that Proctor is a non-party to this case. The point is, he is the most important witness in Karen Reed's defense. because John O'Keefe was not hit by a car did not hit John O'Keefe, and Michael Proctor was the lead investigator into the investigation of this non-car accident. And so his deposition is really important.
Would you like to offer anything else, Attorney Hamel?
No, Your Honor, beyond what's in our papers, we'll rest on our papers. Thank you.
Attorney Seligson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Obviously, we are opposed to the motion for protective order. This is a duly noticed deposition. The subpoena for the deposition went out in April. There was an agreed upon date of June 8th, which we have prepared for, we have strategically planned for, we've incurred costs.
Okay.
Now, 4 days.
Take note of the strategically planned for. This is what the judge is going to jump on. And the second I heard him say this, I was like, word choice is so important. Say that again.
The deposition went out in April. There was an agreed upon date of June 8th, which we have prepared for, we have strategically planned for, we've incurred costs. Now, 4 days before the deposition, suddenly there is a need to continue it. There is no, other than conclusory statements, which I understand the judge, you're going to impound, but other than conclusory statements, there's no evidence provided of what exactly is the reasoning for family commitments that may be impacting the ability to attend today, health issues that are causing the inability to attend today, to seek a continuance on the eve of such an important deposition after we have incurred so much time, effort, and expense, including travel. Attorney Jackson traveled from California here to conduct the deposition, and we planned around that and strategically planned around that. And the schedule that Your Honor is keeping us to, this is highly prejudicial to my client. The reasoning is not sufficient. Mr. Proctor says in his affidavit that his attorneys had contacted him on June 3rd to discuss and prepare for his deposition.
Wait. So the attorney did say in his affidavit that he reached out to Michael Proctor on June 3rd, but Hamel was like, well, that's not true. I never said that. We reached out to him in April, but it looks like Damon Seligson is reading from the papers. And since we don't have the papers, he looks very confused, Matt Hamel. He's like, what? I don't know. He's got me like kind of like an Abraham Lincoln look. He says he's reading from it. He says that he said he reached out to him on June 3rd. The deposition was supposed to be today, June 8th.
Planned around that and strategically planned around that. And the schedule that Your Honor is keeping us to, this is highly prejudicial to my client. The reasoning is not sufficient. Mr. Proctor says in his affidavit that his attorneys had contacted him on June 3rd
Proctor
to
said that.
discuss and prepare for his deposition. And then we learn on June 4th that they're not coming after we seek out simple list of attendees so that we can give it to the security desk. At no point from April until June 4th did we learn that there was any issue. Was there any request for any continuance, any request for any accommodation? And we've prepared and incurred costs and expense getting to this point. And we're here today in strong opposition to the deposition being continued.
Attorney Seligson, you used the phrase strategically prepared for. And
Yes, Your Honor.
it raises a question in my mind.
Here it comes. And we can't see the judge because he sits so far away from the camera, the Zoom camera. This is him, this little tiny dot. He's about the size of tiny Jesus here. So I'm just going to keep the, because we can't see his face. We can keep the camera on Seligson and Hamel, who are the main characters here for today. This is where he gets into the strategic planning. His spidey senses have gone up.
Attorney Seligson, you used the phrase strategically prepared for. And
Yes, Your Honor.
it raises a question in my mind relative to the new Bristol action that you filed last Thursday, I think.
Yes, Your Honor.
And
That's Karen Reed's lawsuit that was filed against the town of Canton and the MSP that had all of the explosive text and voice messages in it between Good and Proctor, and maybe Proctor and other people, and maybe Good and other people. We're not really quite sure.
Ms. Reed's attorneys were fully aware that Attorney Hamill's office was involved on behalf of Mr. Proctor, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. For the deposition in this case. Yes.
Was notice of that intent to file the Bristol action given to Mr. Proctor's attorneys?
No, Your Honor. Firstly, I want to be respectful of the court's inquiry. I also want to be careful how I discuss our strategic attorney work product, attorney-client planning. When I say
Just to be clear, there's no requirement that Karen's attorneys notify Proctor's attorney for his deposition that they're going to file a lawsuit against the Massachusetts State Police and the town of Canton that may further humiliate, embarrass, excoriate, and just completely obliterate Michael Proctor. There's no requirement. Could they have done it as a courtesy? Maybe. I don't know, but it's not required. And I'm going to have to look at the federal docket because I don't know that Matthew Hamill is defending Proctor in the federal case, Karen Reed versus everybody. Because remember, this hearing is on the O'Keefe versus Reed, Waterfall, and C.F. McCarthy's lawsuit.
strategic, I mean sequencing of depositions. Nothing to do with the Massachusetts State Police complaint we filed. Those dates aren't, there wasn't some kind of effort to impact the deposition with the filing of the complaint, if that's what the court is asking. Strategic, as I stated, was with respect to sequencing of depositions in the wrongful death case, which we have been talking about as a
Hey, Scott Manuxon or MX Lauren or whatever the hell your name is, don't tell me what to do on my channel. It's fair use. I have to commentate on it. That's what I do. So if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else and watch it. There's plenty of options. Don't come in here and complain about the way I do things. Now I'm just going to stop the whole class. Idiot.
team for months. That's what I mean, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Attorney Seligson?
Your Honor, what I'd like to do is ask the court to deny the motion. And if the court's inclined to grant the motion, we would ask that we be entitled to submit a petition for our fees and costs in having to redo the prep, redo the logistical planning. But again, we'd ask that that the motion be denied and that Mr. Proctor arrive for his deposition today and that we conduct it as noticed.
Thank you. Attorney
Thank
Buck,
you.
do you want to be heard?
Your Honor, I just want to make a
Okay, so this guy, Attorney Buck, is filling in today for Diller. And here he is in the lower right hand, little tiny corner of your screen. Maybe he'll get bigger. He's speaking for the plaintiffs. This is Diller's, I guess, partner or one of his associates.
Attorney
Thank
Buck,
you.
do you want to be heard?
Your Honor, I just want to make it clear for the record that the plaintiffs intend to seek testimony from Mr. Proctor, but don't take a position as to whether that testimony is taken today or in the future.
Thank you. Attorney Rose, do you want to be heard?
Did they not prep?
No, Your Honor, we take no position with regards to the motion.
Attorney Daly?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're going to take a short recess and I'll come back out. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so it was not a short recess. He was out for, I don't know, how long would you say he was out for, you guys? Maybe like half an hour, it felt like.
During this morning, we'll see everyone at 4:15. He's part of a plan that a lawyer's
position today and that we conducted as noticed.
Thank
Did,
you.
did
Attorney
Grant cut
Buck,
out
you
the
wanna be
break?
heard?
Your Honor, I just want to make it clear for the record that the plaintiffs intend to seek testimony from Mr. Proctor.
Okay, so Diller's firm says we do intend to depose him, but we don't care if it's today or not. Michael Proctor should have been one of the first depositions that the plaintiff wanted, because they have to prove, in order to win this case, this wrongful death action for this alleged car accident that didn't happen, they have to prove that a car accident happened. And Michael Proctor would be a very important witness for them, because with his really great investigative skills, he determined that a car accident did happen. So that would be a very important witness for the plaintiffs, but they don't care if it's today or not.
All counsel is present. Keith versus.
Okay, here comes the judge back on the bench after the break.
Your Honor, we return to the record on the matter of O'Keefe versus C&C Hospitality LLC, and all counsel is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, I'm handing the clerk an endorsement on the motion before me, and I'm also going to read it into the record. For this case to proceed efficiently and for our system of justice to work, certain basic things have to happen. A subpoena needs to mean something. A lawyer's agreement needs to have some meaning. Lawyers need to communicate with their clients. Clients need.
Okay, so some idiot named Lauren, Lorin, did not mute their camera and did not mute themselves on the Zoom, and that's whose voice you're hearing in the background. This is the ruling.
A lawyer's agreement needs to have some meaning. Lawyers need to communicate with their clients. Clients need to keep their attorneys informed. And when given an opportunity to provide support for a party's request, that party needs to avail themselves of the opportunity. Based on the record before me, there is insufficient information to support a delay in the deposition going forward. However, given the claims made in the filings over the weekend, I will delay making a final decision on the motion until 4 p.m. today to give Mr. Proctor's counsel the opportunity to supplement the record before me. The subpoena requiring Mr. Proctor to appear for deposition today is stayed for 24 hours. Further hearing will be held today at 4:15 p.m. by Zoom. I followed up with Attorney Seligson on his reference to strategically preparing for the deposition today, because I read in the media of an appearance on the Today Show Friday morning where Ms. Reed said that her new civil lawsuit was always part of a plan that she has. And beside her were attorneys Alan Jackson and Charles Waters, who cast the case as a bid to expose institutional corruption in Massachusetts law enforcement and to hold someone accountable for the death of her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe. Although there is no duty on Ms. Reed's counsel to have informed Mr. Proctor's counsel of the intent to file the most recently filed Bristol County action, I think it is unreasonable to have not done so with a scheduled deposition pending, and then to have filed such action 4 days before the scheduled deposition.
I respectfully, Judge, I like you. I like your demeanor. I think you're a pretty cool guy. I respectfully disagree with you on that. I don't think that they had any obligation, legal, moral, or otherwise, to notify Proctor's attorneys that they were going to file this explosive lawsuit 4 days before his deposition. Absolutely none. Absolutely none. Would it have been a nice thing to do? Sure. Did Michael Proctor do a lot of really things that were really not nice to Karen Reed? Yes. Hell yes. They don't owe that man any courtesies, in my opinion. And that's kind of ridiculous.
The actions by counsel, Mr. Proctor's counsel seeking to continue the deposition at the last moment, in Ms. Reed's counsel filing its new action 4 days before the scheduled deposition with an obviously planned appearance on national television, brought to mind comment 4 to Rule 3.5 of the Massachusetts Rules of Professional Conduct, wherein it is stated, an advocate can present the cause, protect the record for subsequent review, and preserve professional integrity by patient firmness no less effectively than by theatrics. As St. Mary's University School of Law Assistant Professor David Bernardo noted years ago at a conference on professional responsibility, civility in the legal profession is generally defined as treating others, opposing counsel, the court, clients, and others with courtesy, dignity, and kindness.
None of those things were afforded to Karen Reed during the investigation of the murder of a Boston police officer, and none of those things were afforded to the memory of Officer John O'Keefe, who was murdered. Nobody gave him any courtesy, dignity, and kindness. Nobody gave Karen Reed any courtesy, dignity, and kindness, and civility has left the building as far as this entire 2 persecutions of Karen Reed, 2 trials. This has been going on for 4 years. None of these things have ever occurred during the history of this case. And so the fact that Seligson and his team, including Alan Jackson and Aaron Rosenberg, did not notify Michael Proctor's attorney that they were going to file this lawsuit that was going to completely humiliate, embarrass, and blow the lid off of corruption and bias, misogyny, racism, bigotry, grape on the part of Michael, alleged grape, or talking about wanting to grape when women were asleep and do other nasty things to them when they were asleep. Civility has left the building, as has integrity. I think we're a little bit past that. I know he's talking about the lawyers, but let's take a look at this case and talk about theatrics. It's not just Karen Reed. She rarely speaks in public, but, you know, the House defendants have been on TV. Michael Proctor did an apology tour that was aired the day Karen Reed was acquitted by somebody with really bad timing and or judgment at some network. I don't remember which one. And there's been a lot of chatter on the cesspool of Twitter about some Netflix documentary that they're going to do, that they're apparently going to start exposing all kinds of YouTubers and playing their content on this documentary. Good luck with that if you do, because there's a lot of people that might not be so happy that you're playing their content on your Netflix special, if that's even true. Who knows? Because you don't even know half of what's true. It was ABC's Matt Gutman on 2020. Thank you, Emily. So all of that has left the building, Judge. But, you know, lawyers should be nice to each other. You're right. And should grant each other courtesies. But in this case, Alan Jackson flew all the way from LA. I don't know if he took the red eye like Judge Cannoni told him he should do one time. But boy, are his arms tired. And the expense of that and the prep. You know, they've known about Michael Proctor being deposed since April. Okay, this is not a surprise. And also, I noticed that he did not argue what he argued in his papers, Mr. Hamill, that he's got 3 guys in his office and they all had trials, and his trial was supposed to be, his case was supposed to be tried, but it settled on the eve of trial all the way back in like May. I want to say May 17th. So you've had a lot of time to prep your client. And if you don't have time, you make the time. Nobody works 9 to 5 anymore. You have the whole weekend. You had the whole weekend. You could have prepped them. So we really don't know what the story is, because it's going to be impounded, but they're coming back at 4:15 for another conference, and they've got until 4 p.m. today to supplement their papers.
Others, opposing conference on professional responsibility.
Well, let's go back to the beginning of his quote on civility and integrity and kindness.
Civility in the legal profession is generally defined as treating others, opposing counsel, the court, clients, and others with courtesy, dignity, and kindness. Thanks for appearing this morning. We'll see everyone at 4:15 this afternoon.
Thank you, Your
For
Honor.
the record, this matter is continued to 4:15 this afternoon for further hearing.
My name is Grant Smith Ellis, and you just heard it. We will be back at 4:15 p.m. today. Michael Proctor's deposition.
All right. So thank you, Grant Smith Ellis, for streaming this. He's got media creds, so I believe that he probably had permission to do so. So thank you. If you guys want to be nice and go over and give Grant a like and a sub, that would be like the kind thing to do, because civility, kindness, whatever else the judge said at the beginning. But it sounds, yeah, the time for kindness is over. Says says Michael. Courtesy, dignity, kindness, and civility. Where was that during the murder investigation of a Boston police officer? It didn't exist, right? And I think that we could also point out that some of the Haas defendants have not been very kind, civil, courteous, and dignified in the things that they may or may not have done. Oh, the BS button is right here. It's never far. Never far. We need it very, very, very often. So thank you to Grant. Here come the bakers. Here come the bakers. Welcome. Welcome. So if you were not here and you missed the entire short hearing this morning, Judge Gilday is not having it. They have until 4 p.m. Proctor's attorneys have until 4 p.m. to give him the real reasons and some more specific reasons of why Proctor cannot come in for his deposition today. Something a little more specific than family commitments and medical issues. All right, let me make sure I got the quote right. It was too general for the judge. He wants it more specific, and he is only staying this subpoena for 24 hours, which means that Proctor could have to give a deposition tomorrow, which also means that Alan Jackson could incur more costs if he has to change his flight, etc. And Damon Seligson was very clear that he's going to ask for costs. He's going to ask for costs and attorney's fees if this thing does get adjourned. But I am sure that Alan Jackson did take into consideration that the deposition of Michael Proctor was likely to take more than one day, because we learned that there was something like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of items in Proctor's phone in the total phone extraction, including voice memos, text messages, emails, photos of intimate body parts, information regarding an SA victim. I think photos of an SA victim. And so all that it said in the affidavit submitted by Proctor's counsel was that Proctor had family commitments and health issues. That's it. Let's go to the chat. We're going to have to come back at 4:15. Strange Credulity, I thank you for gifting a membership. You're amazing. Desiderata, that's my favorite poem. Best 25 months of 10 years in trial. Watch right here. Oh, I love that for us. Thank you for being here for so long. Bio Girl, thanks for becoming a member. Kara says, oh, Slancha, Kara. Thanks for being here for 6 months. Deborah says, ironic that Proctor's medical information is being kept private. He didn't provide Karen Reed that courtesy by texting all his buddies. So true, isn't it? Thank you on top for your super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Courtside Cupcake, I'll come back at 4:15 after I listen to the hearing, unless one of the, mainstream media channels is able to broadcast it live. I'm going to have to wait and see, but I will come back either after I watch it, or if it is broadcast live, we can do it live. Charlie says, wasn't the judge already PO'd that depositions were already running so late? Yes. And Mark Diller said in the last conference, he's only done 3 depositions. We know one of them was Stephen Scanlon. I think another one was Colin Albert. So it's unclear whether Colin Albert was deposed, but Karen's attorneys weren't there and just Mark Diller and the bars deposed him for 4 hours. It's unclear, because Alan Jackson said on Billy Bush, as we listened to last week, no, he wasn't deposed. So I don't know. But yeah, the judge was mad. Thanks, Charlie, for tuning in from down under. Andrew with an I. Is it common to have this many discrepancies in the facts of what is going on behind the scenes in civil cases? I mean, there's always 3 sides to every story, right? Always. Civil cases, criminal, all kinds of cases, any cases, even just in life. So much of they said XYZ, but that's not what happened. I hope that makes sense. Totally makes sense. People like to construe things in the light most favorable to their clients. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. But when they put it in the papers and then they misrepresent things, that's where it can get an attorney into trouble. If you put in your court papers that, you want everything sealed, because last time when Sean Good was suspended, right after Karen's team learned about it, all of a sudden it was on the internet. When you're accusing of Karen's team of leaking that information, when it clearly came from a FOIA request, and Queen Corey Hopkins, who is an attorney who's done the Lord's work and done a lot of FOIA requests, is the one who obtained it and sent it to Ted Daniel, and she fully admits that in her social media posts. It's a little disingenuous, don't you think? Thank you, Andrea, for your 10. Sasha, Dog's mom, says, ironically, Proctor's lawyer looks like Abe Lincoln. That's so funny because I thought the same thing. Thank you for your 5. Suppo says, we've only just begun. Here for the long haul. Rachel says, thanks for all you do. You're very sweet. Thank you for your compliments. And I love it. I love that you're so sweet and kind. Charlie says, Haas long to buy one-way plane tickets to non-extradition country. I don't know, but I mean, listen, the conspiracy theorists would say it's so crazy that Colin Albert just enlisted during wartime in the Army right before he was scheduled to be deposed by also probably Alan Jackson. And then all of a sudden, Michael Proctor has family commitments and health issues when it's time for him to give his deposition right after this bombshell lawsuit was dropped. It's crazy, right? Conspiracy theorists would think. Thanks, Charlie, for your another 5. Yellow Lebetero, hey there, says, does anyone find judges in Massachusetts hold Karen's attorneys to a higher standard? In no way does he need to let Proctor's attorney know he's about to file another lawsuit. And isn't every lawsuit of any kind strategic? Yes, they all are. I know, except he meant we have a strategic way that we want to do our depositions, and we want to do Michael Proctor first. And they're entitled to that strategy, and they don't have to reveal their strategy to the public. That's all attorney work product. It's privileged. And so I don't think, I think the judge, I don't know if he had to make those public comments, but he did. The Today Show. I don't know. That's why I don't like my clients to ever give interviews if it's a very high profile case, unless, I don't know. I didn't like that Today Show interview. Brother Counsel, if you watched his stream on it, he thinks that it was a setup. He thinks that they were antis giving the questions to the reporters because that's exactly the kind of things that the antis are saying all over social media. And when Craig Melvin asked her, after he questioned her about, well, what does it feel like when you're walking around knowing that there are so many people out there looking at you thinking, oh, that's the girl who killed her boyfriend and got away with it. And she said, well, I don't really interact with a lot of people. When I'm on Newberry Street and going out for dinner, I'm getting a lot of discounts and people are giving me free stuff. And then he's like, well, do you go on the internet, or are you on the internet or something? And Karen was kind of taken aback. She was like, sorry, what? She's like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, I see these things on Twitter, but she could have said, there's about 10 people with 100 sock accounts each. And that must be what you've read that to prepare for your interview of me is all the people who hate me on the cesspool of Twitter, but that's not real life. That's not the real world. It was awful. I thought so too. Holly says, why do folks like that not just go find this hearing on their own and watch it if they don't like your commenting? You can't be lazy and complain. I agree, Holly. See a 5. Damn straight. Thank you for your super sticker. Deleted comment queen says Michael Proctor is a coward. Thanks for keeping us informed, Melanie. Much love always. Much love to you. Kay Willis is here. She's a realtor south of Boston, and she's gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so very much. Brass says, reminding us that per Rosemary Scapiccio, it was 44,000 pages when it was printed. 44,000 pages. Michael Proctor's phone extraction was. Thank you for reminding me. Thanks for being here for 10 months. Muzzy says, how do we know that he hasn't fled the country? We don't. We don't. But according to his, who's better than Kyle Sharkey? According to his attorneys, he has family commitments and health issues. But we don't know. Thanks, Muzzy, for tuning in from down under. Kyle Sharkey coming in with the written order because he's amazing. And he got a shout out the other day on Billy Bush. Let's take a look at the order. I mean, the judge read it into the record, but now that we have it in writing, let's take a look at it. We like receipts here. And here we go. This is the order resulting from the hearing that we just watched, the emergency hearing that was called by Judge Gilday regarding Michael Proctor's motion to move his deposition from today to another day. O'Keefe versus CNC Hospitality et al., June 8th, 2026. Ruling on the motion for protective order from non-party Michael Proctor. For this case to proceed efficiently and for our system of justice to work, certain basic things have to happen. A subpoena needs to mean something. A lawyer's agreement needs to have meaning. Lawyers need to communicate with their clients. Clients need to keep their attorneys informed. When given an opportunity to provide support for a party's request, that party needs to avail themselves of the opportunity. Based on the record before me, there is insufficient information to support a delay in the deposition going forward. However, given the claims made in the filings over the weekend, I will delay making a final decision on the motion until 4 p.m. today to give Mr. Proctor's counsel the opportunity to supplement the record before me. The subpoena requiring Mr. Proctor to appear for a deposition today is stayed for 24 hours. Further hearing will be held today at 4:15 by Zoom. I followed up with Attorney Seligson with his reference to strategically preparing for the deposition because I read in the media of an appearance on the Today Show Friday morning where Ms. Reed said filing her new civil lawsuit was always part of a plan she had. Beside her were her attorneys, Alan Jackson and Charles Waters, who cast the case as a bid to expose institutional corruption in Massachusetts law enforcement and to hold someone accountable for the death of her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe. Although there is no duty for Ms. Reed's counsel to have informed Mr. Proctor's counsel of the intent to file the most recently filed Bristol County action, I think it is unreasonable to have not done so with the scheduled deposition pending and then to have filed such action 4 days before the scheduled deposition. The actions by counsel, Mr. Proctor's counsel seeking to continue the deposition at the last moment, and Ms. Reed's counsel filing its new action 4 days before a scheduled deposition with an obviously planned appearance on national television brought to mind comment 4 to Rule 3.5 of the Massachusetts Rules of Professional Conduct, wherein it is stated, let me break for a document for a moment to tell you that he's kind of talking about a possible violation of the rules of professional conduct. He's reminding everyone about the rules of professional conduct, and really it's just a comment to it. An advocate can present the cause, protect the record for subsequent review, and preserve professional integrity by patient firmness no less effectively than by theatrics. So Karen doesn't have a right to say something almost 1 year to the day after her acquittal. She's been dealing with this for over 4 years, since January 29th of 2022, when it was decided within 16 hours that Michael Proctor was going to make sure that Karen Reed didn't skate. She's effed. Boston homeowner's not going to, the homeowner's not going to get in any trouble because he's a Boston cop too. Calling for a tow around 2 p.m. on January 29th of Karen Reed's vehicle without ever having visited 34 Fairview. without ever seeing a picture of the taillight, without even knowing if there was any damage to the car, indicating a pedestrian strike. But having viewed the body of Officer John O'Keefe in the hospital and seeing what looked like an animal attack to his right arm, no injuries below the neck other than that, which makes it virtually impossible for a real investigator to believe that this was a pedestrian strike. He wanted everyone to believe, because he testified to this. My head blew across the Long Island Sound. He knew it was a pedestrian strike, he testified, because he was missing a shoe. And in his experience, if you're missing a shoe, it means you got hit by a car. He never took a picture of the taillight after going to Dighton. He lied on his report about what time he called it in. He lied about what time they got back to the Sallyport, and he wants everyone to believe all these things are just typos, scrivener's errors. The order goes on to say, at St. Mary's University School of Law, Assistant Professor David Granardo noted years ago at a conference on professional responsibility, quote, civility in the legal profession is generally defined as, quote, treating others, opposing counsel of the court, clients, and others with courtesy, dignity, and kindness, end quote. And I love that. And I think that's amazing. And you're right, Judge, that's exactly how it should be. But this case is a unicorn, okay? We rarely ever, if ever, see cases like this in the real world of practice. And what happened to Karen Reed is an abomination of justice. And yeah, it would be nice if everybody could just, why can't we all just get along? That would be really nice, but it's just not going to happen in this case. Let's take a look at the Today Show interview, because we have not yet played it on this channel. We did speak about it a lot, and I would love to know your thoughts on it, because I'm going to assume that all of the YouTubers that played the interview were not stricken by the Today Show, because some networks like to do that. This Today Show clip has 188,000 views, and it was posted on June 5th, which was the same day of the interview, right? The interview was on Friday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Let's take a look at this interview. So if you're just tuning in, we've already covered this morning's hearing. You can rewind to see it, courtesy of Grant Smith Ellis. Go give him a like and a sub, because we are going to try and be civil here. Grant Smith Ellis, who used to be very anti-Karen Reed, has changed his position, and he is now seen the light, and he has said publicly that he knows that he was duped. And he has apologized to me for the things he said about me. So bygones, right? Bygones, in my opinion. All right, here we go. This is the interview of Karen Reed on Friday on the Today Show. It aired at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Yes, I'm aware of the Faust hearing on Wednesday. Thank you. Faust.
We are going to sit down with Karen Reed and her attorneys in just a moment. But first, a closer look at this new lawsuit and a warning. Some of the language you are about to hear is disturbing and offensive.
Is that loud enough? I can boost it if it needs to be boosted. All right. I'm going to take it back a tiny bit. Charles Waters is there with Alan Jackson at her sit-down interview.
We are going to sit down with Karen Reed and her attorneys in just a moment. But first, a closer look at this new lawsuit and a warning. Some of the language you are about to hear is disturbing and offensive.
Nearly 1 year after Karen Reed walked out of court a free woman, she's waging her own legal battle this morning against the police departments she says framed her for the murder of her boyfriend, police officer John O'Keefe.
You know what you did.
How
what you've done.
The 46-year-old filing a scathing new civil suit against Massachusetts State Police and the town of Canton, laying out a litany of racist messages.
I'm going to boost it a little bit because I sound really loud in my own.
her attorneys say were exchanged between the lead investigator on Reed's case, Michael Proctor, and former Canton Police Sergeant Sean Good.
Take your time. A certain was involved, so that wouldn't rush if you're working. Let them die.
Most of the messages unrelated to Reed, but according to the complaint, their crude nature expose a culture of bias and corruption.
You are a filthy pig that you just do dirty things to.
Reed's history with Proctor.
You want a filthy pig that you just do dirty things to. How civil was that? How kind was that? Are you kidding me? You want a filthy pig that you just do dirty things. So he's talking about women.
Filthy pig that you just do dirty things to.
Reed's history with Proctor and others in law enforcement stretching back years.
She's a whack job.
Her attorneys have long maintained, but have yet to prove, that O'Keefe was killed at a house party after a night of heavy drinking with fellow officers back in 2022, who then tried to cover it up by falsely accusing Reed of hitting O'Keefe with her SUV, leaving him to die in the snow.
This case should be over right now. Done. Because there was no collision.
A jury ultimately acquitted Reed last summer of second-degree murder after her first trial ended with a hung jury. Proctor, meanwhile, was fired for his misconduct, his lawyer dismissing the newly revealed messages from his personal life as having no bearing whatsoever on the investigation of Karen Reed. Sergeant Good also off the force, resigning this week after he was placed on leave for alleged misconduct. It's unclear if that leave was connected to Reed. But Massachusetts State Police call their messages, quote, abhorrent, adding in a statement they do not reflect the agency's values. Yet the allegations of police corruption at the heart of Reed's defense struck a chord for many of her supporters, who often gathered outside the courthouse, with many more following online.
Never in my entire life have I been more invested in a court case.
Even
Wait, who is that TikToker? Who's that TikToker? She got some pretty good FaceTime here. Anybody know who that is?
My entire life have I been more invested in a court case.
Even an auction of her SUV attracting intense interest until it was sold. It all comes as the former financial analyst fends off other legal woes, including a wrongful death lawsuit brought by the O'Keefe family. But Karen Reed has vowed to keep fighting to vindicate her innocence.
There's more evidence and there's more of a story to tell.
Now, NBC News has reached out to Sean Good, but has not yet heard back.
Shocker.
The town of Canton, meantime, says it refutes any broad stroke characterizations about the people who serve in that department. And joining us now is Karen Reed, along with her two attorneys, Alan Jackson and Charles Waters. Good morning.
I think Karen looks great. She's getting a lot of, well, I mean, you know who they are, those people online that are saying that she didn't look good. I thought she looked great.
Everyone.
Good morning.
Karen, let's start with you because we really haven't heard from you much and seen you really at all since the jury's not guilty verdict. First, just why file this lawsuit now? You already have one lawsuit in the queue. Why do this now?
This was always our plan, that I had to save my own life first. I can't do anything if I'm not free. And I had to fight for my freedom.
That's what the judge referred to. This was always our plan. This was always our plan to file a civil lawsuit for violation of my civil rights after I was acquitted. I had to save my own life first. She didn't mean this was always a plan that I was going to file my civil lawsuit with Proctor's explosive text messages 4 days before his deposition. The only reason that they got Proctor's total phone extraction is because Rosemary Scapicchio asked for it in the Miles King case, because she learned about the text messages, because the world learned about them when Proctor testified and all the things, the horrific things that he was saying about Karen Reed. And she said, well, I bet you there's more. There's got to be more.
For years.
That's the reason they have this total phone extraction. They wouldn't have it if it wasn't for Rosemary Scapicchio. So when she said this was always the plan, yeah, it was the plan to sue them for my civil rights after my acquittal. Wow.
now? You already have one lawsuit in the queue. Why do this now?
This was always our plan, that I had to save my own life first. I can't do anything if I'm not free. And I had to fight for my freedom for years. And I knew as it unfolded, I was never going to be able to just forget that this happened to me, that I was wronged in this way. I couldn't just go back to life as it was. I have to continue fighting for justice. The acquittal is deserved, but the wrongs have not been completely righted. They've been happening along the way, but I always knew this was going to happen if I could get the help legally to do this.
Let's talk about that for a moment, Alan, because again, as we just saw in Laura's story there, Sergeant Good's been fired, right. Lieutenant Proctor fired. They're both gone.
He's not a lieutenant, never will be, never was. Excellent research. Listen, I know they talk about 100 topics a day, but I don't really care. If you're going to get involved and you get the interview of the century by getting Karen Reed on your show, because I think this is the first mainstream show that she's done post-acquittal, by the way, which is almost a year ago. She did Howie Carr, and I wouldn't call that mainstream media. That's radio, right? She did Rotten Mango. Again, not mainstream media. That's a YouTuber. You get the interview of the century and you spend your time with inane questions designed to humiliate her from a point of view that means that is indicating to the viewers that you think she got away with murder. Is it me?
Sergeant Good's been fired. Right. Lieutenant Proctor fired. They're both gone. The departments have said that there was wrongdoing. They've admitted that. From a legal standpoint, what do you precisely want to see happen here that has not already happened?
Well, it's a civil case. So the remedy is the law speaks in dollars, but that's not what the ultimate goal is here. The ultimate goal is to ensure that we bring to the light the institutional biases, the institutional corruption that permeates the Massachusetts law enforcement system. That's what this lawsuit's going to do. Ultimately, you can't, what Karen wants, you cannot write on a check, which is exposure of the corruption that is the DNA of the Massachusetts State Police, of the Canton Police Department, which is evidenced by these two individuals in their text messages. They were in a position where they felt comfortable within their own family, the family of law enforcement, to send these vile text messages, to send these vile voicemails that are reflective of a deeper problem in the culture. That's what we want to expose.
But to be clear, we're seeking money.
Wow. You don't follow up with Alan Jackson on the text message explosion that happened the day before your interview. You focus on, but to be clear, you're looking for money, okay? That is what our civil justice system provides. Unless you're looking for some sort of an injunction to stop somebody's from building something, or you're looking for your neighbor to get his fence off of your property or something like that. The civil system is designed to award money damages. Okay? We can't turn back the clock. I wish that I could turn back the clock for a lot of my clients. I wish I could. I wish I could turn back the clock so that they were never injured in the way that they were injured. I wish that I could, in the cases I handled against the Catholic Church, turn back the clock to, 1970, before all of these men were essayed by priests when they were little children. And the same priest abused at least 15 of my clients over a 15-year period as he was shuffled from parish to parish to parish. I wish I could undo all of the damage that was done to them and all of my other civil clients who were injured in other ways. That is the system that we have. Okay? She can't sue to have Michael Proctor fired. That's not the way the law works. That's not the way the system works. Okay? The law is designed in civil court when you sue for torts like this for a jury to award you money for tangible damages, which include lost income, medical expenses, and other things that are tangible, attorney's fees, and non-tangible damages, emotional distress, physical injuries, exacerbation of conditions that you already have medically, which Michael Proctor let everyone know about in his vile text messages. So instead of following up on the text messages that Alan Jackson had to bring up first, he's like, to be clear though, this is just about money. This is embarrassing. They get the interview of the century, her first interview post-acquittal. Oh, that's going to get clipped. Post-acquittal, post not a conviction. And this is what these are the things that he chooses to ask.
In the culture, that's what we want to expose.
But to be clear, we're seeking money.
At the end of the day, that's what the civil law requires. Yeah.
Charles, I want to bring you in here because you guys have always maintained she was framed, right? That's been your entire theory from the beginning here. But what evidence have you actually amassed over the past 4 years now? What evidence do you have to support that claim?
Well, what evidence do you actually have to prove that she was framed? Here's the thing, ma'am. John O'Keefe was not hit by a car, and a car did not hit John O'Keefe. Do you want to talk about all the suspicious behavior of all the people that were in the house that night and their cohorts and friends and second family and law enforcement and actual family and law enforcement? Do you want to talk about all the suspicious things? You don't have to be a genius to figure out that he wasn't hit by a car. And if he wasn't hit by a car, something else happened to him. And you know what? Based on the terrible, terrible, non-existent Keystone Cop investigation into the death of a Boston police officer, by the way, we will likely never know what happened to John O'Keefe unless somebody rolls and flips. But he wasn't hit by a car. And so therefore she didn't do it. And so therefore she absolutely was the target of their investigation because they didn't do an investigation except to try and make it fit their theory that she did it. And Charles Waters kind of pivots away from that a little bit. So here's the question again.
The beginning, you guys have always maintained she was framed, right? That's been your entire theory from the beginning here. But what evidence have you actually amassed over the past 4 years now? What evidence do you have to support that claim?
Well, I mean, I think that Alan, during the criminal cases, let the whole world see the evidence that she had. But I think first and foremost, you look at the injuries that John O'Keefe suffered, and that to me is the key. Those were injuries from the back of his head. He died from injuries to the back of his head, some ridged lead surface.
But you've had that for a while now, right? That's not new.
But the question was what evidence is, and you start.
So yeah, but that's not new. That's not new. It doesn't need to be new. This is her time for her lawsuit. Okay. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't allowed into the criminal trial because of some bad rulings by a bad judge. I mean, I'm sure she's not a bad person. I just didn't like her rulings. I'm sure she understands the law. I completely disagree with her on the evidentiary stuff and not holding an evidentiary hearing and the hidden Proctor doctored missing video, inverted video. The judge in Arkansas threw Aaron Spencer's case out on papers because of the way that the Lonoke County Sheriff's Office handled that dash cam of Michael Fossler's and the missing SD card and not logging into evidence and no chain of custody. And so many pieces of evidence in Karen Reed's case had the same issues, but the judge never held an evidentiary hearing and didn't dismiss the case and let it go on to another trial. That's not new. Yeah, well, now she's going to show that it was not a car accident, which did come out through many experts, medical and otherwise, at the criminal trial. But this woman did not understand the assignment. I don't know her name, but she didn't understand the assignment.
It's for a while now, right? That's not new.
But the question was what evidence is, and you start there. And when you start there and you realize that the medical examiner, for example, testified at the criminal trial that these injuries that he had were inconsistent with a car strike. So you start there and then you say, what else could have happened? And then you look at the house. And then you look at the people that were in the house, and there are ridged surfaces in the house. There are relationships that John O'Keefe had with people in that house that were difficult relationships. And there's a lot of evidence that we've uncovered and that we're going to still uncover in this civil case.
Karen, let me come back to you for a moment here because
Difficult relationships. Brian Higgins was trying to bang John O'Keefe's girlfriend. We saw the text messages, the only text messages that Higgins printed up to bring to his police interview a couple of days after the murder of John O'Keefe, which was held at his lawyer's house. And his lawyer is married to a sitting judge. Brian Higgins went to the FBI kiosk where his friend Matt Kelch works. Matt Kelch gave him instructions on how to use the FBI machine where he could cherry pick his own text messages and print them out. And he printed them out into a package, all of his messages between John O'Keefe and himself, and all of the messages between himself and Karen Reed. And he brought them into his interview. He's like, here you go. And even though a good investigator might think, oh, he was trying to get with John O'Keefe's girlfriend. Well, that could be motive. According to the text messages, she was like blowing him off. And he's like, where are we going with our relationship? In their 2-week text thread, Higgins' best friend. That's what a good investigator would have done. Maybe considered Brian Higgins to be a potential suspect, but no, he never did that.
Covered and that we're going to still uncover in this civil
So
case.
that's what they mean by difficult relationships with people in the house. That's just one example.
Karen, let me come back to you for a moment here because since the two trials, like what has life been like for you? I know you lost your house, you lost your car. Are you working right now?
No, I'm not working.
You're more concerned about whether she has a job? You lost your house, you lost your car. What is it that you say you do here now, Ms. Reed? After your life has been blown up since January 29th of 2022, and you were, I don't know, perp walked without underwear. Remember Michael Proctor wouldn't let her go in and put underwear on? And then he said into his body cam, she's more concerned about how she looks for the media. That was in June when they upgraded her charges to second-degree murder because in the group text messages amongst the fam, Matt McCabe said when there was apparently some media in D&E Pizza owned by Chris Albert, tell them the guy never went in the house. If she takes the plea, it'll be over. If not, it's going to be a whole other episode. Guess what, Mr. Melvin? This is not just a whole other episode. We're on season 3, and season 4 is going to happen when some other people are in handcuffs for the murder of John O'Keefe. That'll be season 4. So you might want to stay tuned because it's going to be pretty must-see TV. Are you working? Yeah, I get up every single day and I work on my case because nobody knows my case better than me. And I'm not going to stop until I expose every single one of these mofos for what they did to me. And not just me, but how many other defendants in Massachusetts have they done this to? Michael Proctor said openly in a voice memo to, I think, Sergeant Good, yeah, you know, I think I might just shove a nightstick up his butt. He didn't say butt. Plant a bag of coke on him and say, you're going in. Did he ever plant bags of coke on anybody? Attention, prisoners in the state of Massachusetts. If Michael Proctor was your lead investigator and you're in prison for possession or possession with intent to distribute cocaine, you might want to file your appeal. Are you working right now? As if that's how her worth is defined, whether or not she's got like a job, like a 9-to-5. This is so gross on so many levels.
House, you lost your car. Are you working right now?
She's $5 million in debt to her attorneys. She had to liquidate her 401ks. I think she's still living with her parents, who also depleted, I think, much of their savings to help their daughter hire the best attorneys out there so that to try and get her out of this mess, which they finally did. And now she's single thread focused on exposing corruption in the state that she loves, that she grew up in. I mean, come on, man. Yeah, his bias is absolutely showing.
No, I'm not working. I still don't have my license, and I'm back working on the case. And, we've brought in civil lawyers, but this case is so comprehensive that we need all hands on deck. I mean, I'm working on the case every day, and I don't know that I really ever took time off, and I don't know that I felt like I wanted to take time off. I want this to be over, but it's not done yet.
I want to, because we saw the throngs of supporters who would show up at that courthouse who clearly believed, just as the jurors did. But you have to know that when you walk down the street, there are lots of people who look at Karen Reed and who think, oh, there's that woman that got away with killing her ex-boyfriend who was a cop. How do you go through?
Lots of people who think that. Lots of people. You mean the 10 people who may be friends and family and supporters of the Haas defendants on Twitter who each have 100 sock accounts? Yeah, I mean, we knew you had a lot of supporters at the courthouse. Have you guys ever seen anything like that? I don't know what the final count is, or if anybody knows how many people were outside the courthouse on verdict day cheering for a woman who they didn't even know. But they did know one thing: John O'Keefe wasn't hit by a car, and she was being tried for murder for the second time, supporting her in their pink shirts. But he's talking about all the people, lots of people who see her walking down the street and say, there's the girl that got away with killing her boyfriend. Dude, are you for real? Say it again.
Believed, just as the jurors.
I want this to be over, but it's not done yet.
I want to, because we saw the throngs of supporters who would show up at that courthouse who clearly
look at his body language. We saw the throngs of supporters out there outside the courthouse. What, do you think they were paid to show up, dude? Yeah, we saw those people. Dude, have you ever seen anything like that in your professional career as a reporter? That kind of support outside of a courthouse for a person that's not a celebrity? This is so weird.
The throngs of supporters who would show up at that courthouse who clearly believed, just as the jurors did. But you have to know that when you walk down the street, there are lots of people who look at Karen Reed and who think, oh, there's that woman that got away with killing her ex-boyfriend who was a cop. How do you go through life knowing that there are lots of people who, despite what the jury said, still think you did it and you got away with it?
I've not.
Lots of people? Because his follow-up question to this is interesting. He's going to be like, well, do you go on the internet? So those are the lots of people. That's where you did your research for this interview, if any, or that's where your intern did their research for this interview and put this question on the teleprompter? No questions about the explosive lawsuit, the biased, misogynist, racist text messages of Michael Proctor that dropped the day before, and both reporters interviewing her are Black, and the things that he said about Black people. Oh yeah, I just saw an accident happen, but don't rush, because I saw there's an N-word involved in the accident. Let them die. You don't address any of that? That doesn't outrage you? You're talking about moronic people on the internet, on Twitter, who have nothing else to talk about, or on Reddit? What? She doesn't go out.
Not had any evidence that there's lots of people who feel that way. I mean, I have lived more low-key in the last year. I've just struggled to not have the adrenaline that I had during trial. But I have no interactions, no matter where I go. The grocery store, a restaurant, Newbury Street in Boston, any hotel or restaurant I eat at. I don't pay for meals. I get discounts everywhere. My parents get help taking groceries. I don't have interactions.
No. I didn't like this answer at all. I mean, he wasn't asking how you pay for things and that you get discounts at fancy hotels and restaurants and that you go shopping on what I understand Newbury Street is similar to like Fifth Avenue, Madison Avenue in New York City. I would have answered this question totally differently. And this is another reason why maybe interviews are not a great idea. So he says, perhaps when she walks down the street and hears some people how scared they are, the police will do the same to them, or their experience with police corruption. Sir, McAlberts aren't walkers. They're drinkers, in my opinion. I did. I cringed when I heard this. I was like, oh no, it's going to be spun by everyone who hates her on Twitter, which is exactly what he's asking her about in this moment. And I think she's trying to say that people are very generous to me. They're very kind to me. They support me. And in supporting me, they take care of my meals when I go out. And so many people support me that they help me. But I don't think that's the way it came across.
I have not seen lots of people. I haven't seen one. The support isn't relegated to what you saw at the courthouse. It's throughout Massachusetts, and it happens
So you've
when I
never heard
travel.
from one person who
Not one. Not one. Well,
he's incredulous. He's like, so you haven't heard from one person? Yeah, I don't think that she communicates with Kate Peter on a daily basis. And remember, Kate Peter, the not so confidential informant, aka Mafia Masshole, was perhaps recruited by the Norfolk County DA's office to get Lindsay Gattani involved with trying to get Turtle Boy arrested. He was incarcerated for 60 days because of this. And Tully, MSP, Trooper Tully, supervisor of Michael Proctor, and Ken Mello, the specially appointed prosecutor, to, frame him and get him incarcerated. This is so twisted. And this guy's like, you haven't seen one person?
there were
have you been on the internet?
Have you been on the internet? Again, is this where you did your research, or your intern did her research for this interview? You went and read some Twitter feed and some Reddit threads of really nasty people saying really nasty things? Can we talk about the evidence that John O'Keefe was not hit by a car? But instead, you're going to focus on what people on the internet are saying? What are you, 12? Yeah, what are you, 12? Right. Why is he arguing with her? This is the get of the century, this interview. This is the reason why nobody wants to talk to mainstream media. I don't think they paid her for this interview. Gee, thanks for the plane ticket. I'm out of here now. I don't know. If it was me, I would have walked away. I would have walked out. I would have left. I would have gotten up and left. I would have taken off that mic and been like, really? This is what you want to talk about? Instead of the explosion that happened yesterday about how corrupt Michael Proctor is, and in turn, the rest of the Massachusetts State Police, because all of his supervisors knew about his behavior and did nothing and gave him 5-star reviews? Dude. Not one person?
it's throughout Massachusetts, and it happens
So you've
when I
never heard
travel.
from one person who
Not one. Not one.
Like,
Well,
what?
there were.
have you been on the internet? I mean, have you looked at any of the
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen tweets. I have not interacted with anyone, and yes, there were people. There were pink shirts, and there was maybe for every 50 pink shirts, there was someone in a blue shirt who,
She's right.
who had many of them ties to people on the other side of this case.
John,
Not even. For every 50, there was one. No, there was maybe 5, and they hardly ever showed up ever. ATMABB says Savannah would have been a better interviewer. She has also seen some terrible police work. Forget Savannah. Jenna Bush is the one who should have interviewed her, because she would have gotten it a little bit better, a lot better. Yep, we watched the Billy Bush interview the other day. You can go back and watch it if you haven't seen it.
Second, Karen, because
Give them ties to people on the other side of this case.
John, let's talk about John for a second, Karen, because you dated for 2 years. You got so close with his family, his nieces, his nephews. You went on vacation together,
Niece
right?
and
This is
nephew.
somebody that you loved. And yet, I think for a lot of people, somehow he gets lost sometimes in this conversation.
Well, he's
Sometimes he gets lost in this conversation. Yeah, he does, because she did everything she could, and now she's going to expose all of the corruption and explain the reasons to the world why the murderer of John O'Keefe is still walking around free out there. He's not lost in this conversation. Everyone who is on the side of Karen Reed also wants justice for John O'Keefe. And the only way justice for John O'Keefe is going to happen is when the correct people or person is in handcuffs. Matt Lauer was fired for SA allegations, says Stephanie. Stephanie Vett, firefighter, EMT. Thank you for your service. And you're right. I mean, the way that they are so tone deaf is mind numbing to me.
not lost he's the reason we're doing this.
I think I think people sometimes wonder, are you doing this for John, or are we trying to go after institutional corruption? Are we trying to get you money damages? What is the goal?
We're trying to get you money damages.
John was the victim of this institutional corruption, and we're the voice for John. And I have lived nearly daily John's final moments, and what happened to him, what was on his phone, what was the temperature of his phone, what was his interactions that I had experienced prior to his death with members of the family that lived in that house. And this all revolves around John.
Of course, this is about John, because by uncovering all the corruption, I'm going to try and figure out what happened to him. John's getting lost in all of this. No, he's not. No, he's not. All of this is for John. She should have been prepped on answers for these questions, because they had to expect that these dumbest questions in the world might be answered. And she should have had snappy answers to stupid questions. Her answer's okay, but I would have been much less filtered. And I understand she's trying to be civil.
That house, and this all revolves around John. I can speak about my personal memories with John, and his family can speak to them as well. But I implore any one of John's family or friends to point to any moment that I wasn't loving or caring with John and his adopted niece and nephew. And
what was he like?
John was very easygoing and kind of shy, quiet. And he just liked to watch Boston sports and drink a few beers. And
No. He just liked to watch Boston sports and drink a few beers. No, I didn't like this answer at all. We've talked about this a lot. We've talked about what it's like to have a relationship with someone who drinks too much. And maybe they both drank too much. And I don't think that was a good, what was John like? He used to he liked to drink a couple of beers. I did not like that answer at all. Am I the only one who was just like, no. Remember, the only thing that you were convicted of was drunk driving. And remember that we all had some thoughts when we read the text messages between John and Karen. Glera and I did a really good rendition of that many, many years ago. I did not like it at all. What was John like? He was very generous. He was very selfless. He cared so much about the niece and nephew that he adopted. He tried to be a good dad. He was overwhelmed, but he really tried his best. And he was good to me. That's it. Stop. Full stop. It's the truth. But again, you know how they're going to spin it. I mean, hate me. I don't like that answer. I don't like it.
Going and kind of shy, quiet. And he just liked to watch Boston sports and drink a few beers. And he was funny. He had a really good sense of humor. And he was very dutiful to his niece and nephew. I mean, he did everything. They were involved in anything they wanted to be involved in. And he tried incredibly hard with them and gave up his bachelorhood, changed his trajectory on the Boston Police Department to care for them. So he was incredibly sacrificial.
We know you're.
And remember, his niece got into that really good school, and that's the reason they went out that night, was to celebrate her admission into that private school. And then after John's death, she didn't go to the private school. She wound up going to Canton High.
Fighting the civil suit that's been filed.
Changed his trajectory on the Boston Police Department to care for them. So he was incredibly sacrificial.
We know you're fighting the civil suit that's been filed by his family, but if you could talk to his family today, what would you say to him?
I don't have anything to say.
If you could talk to John O'Keefe's family today, what would you say to them? First of all, there was a restraining order. She was not to have contact with John O'Keefe's family or go to that house. That was part of her bail conditions immediately after the murder of John O'Keefe that did not occur by car accident. She couldn't go to the funeral. She couldn't speak to them. She couldn't go get her stuff. In fact, I think she's still trying to get her stuff back from his house. And I think I haven't covered this with you, but there was, and because I haven't been able to vet it yet, there was a correspondence recently between the DA's office or between Karen's attorneys and the DA's office trying to get back some of the stuff of hers that was left in the house that was seized by, I don't know, maybe Proctor. And it was a long list of items, including lingerie, bras and panties and all kinds of things of hers that they still had in their possession. It was bizarre. What would you say to John's family? What would you say to John's family? First of all, I would decline to answer that question. I would say I have no comment. I'm not supposed to talk about them or to them. I was prohibited from talking about them or to them ever since I was arrested for their son's murder that did not occur by car accident. And I would have shut it down right there. And if I were Alan, I might have said, we're not going to get into that right now. The time will come for that. Today's not the time. By the way, did you hear about the lawsuit we filed yesterday against the town of Canton and MSP and the explosive text messages? I would say to John's family, I miss John just as much as you do. And I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm going to find out what happened to him because he was not hit by a car. And I will do everything in my power through my civil litigation and the lawsuits that I have filed to try and find out what really happened to your son. My heart breaks for you. Nobody should ever lose two children. And John was, the second child that they lost. My heart breaks for you. I miss John's niece and nephew with all my heart. I love them, and I hope they know that. And end it there. End it there.
Sacrificial.
We know you're fighting the civil suit that's been filed by his family, but if you could talk to his family today, what would you say to him?
I don't have anything to say.
Or Alan should say, we're in litigation. I'm not going to let her answer that question. She's bringing up the fact that the O'Keefe sued her. What would you say to them? Alan would be like, this is in litigation. She can't talk about it. Bizarre.
Say to his family, I interacted with them for several years. John and I had actually dated a long time ago when we were in our early 20s, and I was caring and I believe generous with them, with my time, and we did spend a lot of time together, and they experienced who I am, and they know who I am.
Beyond the civil suit, what comes next for Karen Reed? What are you going to do for the rest of your life?
I don't think we're done discussing.
Well, I'm hoping to step in for Mariska Hargitay after her run ends on Every Brilliant Thing on Broadway. And after that, maybe I could star in Chicago. I'd like to be Roxy, because, everyone thinks I killed my boyfriend, so I might as well be Roxy. Like, these questions sucked. It could have been so much better, and it wasn't. What comes next?
What are you going to do for the rest of your life?
You're going to kick their ass.
I don't think we're done discussing law enforcement, corruption, what's wrong with Massachusetts, where else is it?
So let's say you win the civil suit, then what comes next for you, personally?
Personally, I'd like to keep talking about what I've experienced. I haven't really been free enough, especially with all these lawsuits, to say all that I've experienced. And I think it would be a waste for me to just disappear and go live on an island, although I would like to do that.
Well, we hope that you will come back. We have a lot more that we want to discuss.
Not Block Island. She doesn't want to live on Block Island with so many people who started out here trying to trash her and me and everyone else. And they're like, oh, well, we hope you come back soon. I'm sorry. Did you guys not understand the assignment? Did you have they didn't mention the lawsuit once. They didn't mention Proctor and his racism, bigotry, misogyny once. Alan Jackson had to bring it up. They had no follow-up questions. This was the lamest interview for the biggest get of the career of these two. And Melvin is still just smirking at her. Look at his face. How does it feel to know that lots of people see you walking on the street and they're like, oh, there's the girl that got away killing her police ex-boyfriend. Did he even say ex-boyfriend? I don't even remember because I'm so triggered by this interview. No, Karen, don't go back. Don't go back there ever. Don't go back there ever. They don't understand. They didn't get it. It's punch and N-word in Canton Day. We need retribution or something like that. Wow, they always twist it against you. They always twist it against you. The interview on World News Tonight that we played clips of the other day was so much better. We haven't watched this together yet, and it just makes me angrier. Every single time I do. Everyone, please hit the like button. That'd be so great for the algorithm. Yeah, sure. Come on back.
With you as this case continues. Karen, Alan, Charles, thank you.
Charles Waters, why was he there? Was he just the buffer? Because he didn't say anything. I don't know. That interview makes me really mad. I see also that the Haas defendants have filed an amended complaint. It is something like 50 pages long. However, I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time. I'm going to put the complaints side by side to tell you what's new and what's different. So that's going to have to be a different stream. Because just to read the amended complaint to you would make no sense. It doesn't, I need to know what's new, what's different. See what you guys have to say about this. Steph says, my guess, Proctor admits himself to a psych ward to avoid deposition. I don't know, Steph. I don't know. They have to come up with some better excuses by 4 o'clock today. So I don't think that we're going to get a public filing on that, but you never know. Try a little kindness. Glenn Campbell says, James Jameson, thanks for your super chat from across the pond. Thank you, Shiny Pikachu, for your super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Tammy Tebow says, how come the judge can bring up the Karen Reed Today Show interview when it had nothing to do with this case? He's not helping, right? It had nothing to do with this case or Proctor. They didn't even talk about Proctor. That's interesting. That's a great point, too, Tammy. That's a great point. They tried to talk about Proctor, but those hosts were having none of it. I wonder, do you think that the Today Show got a letter from the attorney for the Haas defendants, similar to the letter that was sent to the YouTuber Tim Pool about how if you have Turtle Boy on your show, we could sue you? I wonder. The only thing she's doing by speaking to mainstream media is giving more fuel to the fire of the Haas defendants. Yeah, because they'll twist everything. So I wonder if they got a threatening letter, the Today Show. You know, if she disparages us on the air, we're going to come for you. Might I remind you? Remember that letter that Tim Pool got that he published on the internet? Maybe. Except I don't think Karen, and did she announce that she was going to be on the Today Show? I don't remember. Was it announced ahead of time? It must have been, because we knew to watch it. And it was a live show. I wonder who wrote the letter to them. I mean, right? Interesting. I don't know that a FOIA request would work because the letter would have been sent from an attorney to the Today Show legal team. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, Tammy, for making me think that way. Jojo Logo says, much love and appreciation from the UK. Yeah, thank you. Tell me, because I'm taking my youngest to see Harry Styles over at Wembley as a graduation present. What neighborhood should I stay in? Notting Hill, Knightsbridge. Tell me what neighborhood I should stay in, my UK friends. That is like not too far from Wembley, like an Uber ride away, and also we can walk to things. I think maybe an Airbnb is the best. So just tell me, Notting Hill, Knightsbridge. I don't know the area at all. Never been to London. So I would love if you guys send me an email, fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. That is the only email that I use for YouTube, by the way. So if you have Googled me and found some other random email for me, I'm not getting your emails. It's fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. Ashley, but it must have been announced because I knew to set the DVR. I set the DVR the night before. It's at the stadium. It's at Wembley Stadium. South Kensington, says Noodle Calf for me. Like, I want to stay in a place that is not like, if you know New York, like someplace cool, like Soho, where there's cool shopping and stuff. Like, it doesn't need to be like Park Avenue, New York, or Fifth Avenue, New York, or, Central Park South, New York, or any part of Central Park South or Central Park West. More like a Soho kind of vibe, or Tribeca kind of vibe, with like cool shopping and cool restaurants and cool stuff, like where the locals hang out. Thank you very much for reminding me to ask you guys that. Robert says this judge should realize that Karen is simply showing the same kindness she received from Marcy, Canoni, Lally, Brendan, McLaughlin, Tully, Fanning, Proctor, and so on. Except on the Today Show interview, she was so much nicer and friendlier than I might have been. I might have been unable to control my emotions because my face has subtitles. You know it. Some of you like it. Some of you hate it. But a hate watch is a watch all the same. Make sure you smash the like button on your way out of hating me. Music says, why do you think the judge would give Michael Proctor another chance to provide more information when he was already ordered to provide that over the weekend? Because I think that he's being sensitive to the fact, like, look, like if, and I don't know, I'm not going to speculate. Don't speculate about where he is. If he is Hyde Park, says Martine from Spain. I'm going to go back and read the chat later. Notting Hill just reminds me of that movie with Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant. Was it? Is it walkable to like cool restaurants? And let me know. So I think that the judge is sensitive to the fact that if, for example, a person who couldn't appear for a deposition was an inpatient somewhere for whatever, maybe sex addiction, let's say, they obviously couldn't appear if they're inpatient somewhere, right? Or they were diagnosed with a very fatal disease, or they're undergoing chemotherapy, or, something such as like that. But it just seems that they tried to make it very vague on purpose. And so the judge is like, okay, if you have a really good excuse, tell me about it. If you don't, too bad, so sad. He's going to be deposed tomorrow. And it's Monday. I don't think there's graduations happening on a Monday or some other family commitment. I don't know. You have mediation for I don't know. But it needs to be more specific. But again, Proctor's attorney said that immediately after filing these papers on Sunday night, the Proctor family started getting threatening phone calls. They're not even in the court docket. So that's crazy to me. Under Your Scars says, stop these interviews, Karen. The judge, I'm sure, doesn't like that she's using mass, right? Thank you, Mel. Thank you for tuning in from Canada, Under Your Scars, and for caring, and for your 5. Lady Wag says Proctor will claim his texts are Scrivener's errors too. Lucy pointing out that Rosenberg announced the lawsuit at the Doolin hearing. That's right, he did. And they knew that this lawsuit was coming because there's a presentment period in Massachusetts. There's a waiting period to sue a municipality. You have to give them notice that you intend to sue them. And then if they don't just say, okay, go ahead and sue me, you have to wait something like 6 months. So they knew the deadline was coming up. They knew. I mean, that's kind of disingenuous too, right? And Nissa says, please read the comments below the Today Show stream. So good. Pro Turtle Boy, which may be why he had 6,000 viewers on his bus stop live this morning. We had over 13. I think we had over 15,000 in here this morning at some point watching this hearing. So people are interested. The world is watching. And let me know if you're watching for the first time. Oh, well, you can't. Well, comment if you're watching for the first time. The reason I have to have a 3-day waiting period for chat is because there are some really vitriolic, hateful people that come in here and try and distract from the real issues just to attack me. Sometimes they pay money to attack me. But if you're watching for the first time, please leave a comment. Tell us your thoughts because the world is watching. Thank you, Anessa, for your 5. CMZ says, should the judge even be watching anything that is out of court statements like interviews and TV court appearances? It's not, he doesn't have the same prohibition against that as jurors do. But I can see where you're getting that from. Thanks for your 5. Sandra says, I'm so annoyed. Karen and Aiden never get a break. Why does the other side always get their way? I'm so disillusioned with the justice system. Well, don't get disillusioned yet because he may have to appear tomorrow. We'll see. Emanj, hi, you're the best too. You're the best. Thank you so much. Emanj. And Charlie says, CBS just gutted 60 Minutes. Today's journalists have zero critical thinking skills. Thanks for your opinions. Reiki B says, why didn't Attorney Rosenberg chime in to say that we didn't give direct notice, but there was a public hearing on a motion to include Proctor's text in an upcoming civil action? They knew. It seems to me like the judge was insinuating that somehow they timed it. Maybe they did. But again, they don't have to give Proctor notice of anything, despite the judge's quote of, lawyers should be nice to each other. Pochi says the interview is worse than me doing wound care right now. Oof. Oof. May, thank you for tuning in from Australia and for your super sticker. Emon says, can we get host offenders in orange jumpsuits? Thank you for your deuce. Escafreya says, they came to fight injustice, not just a verdict. And corruption, I would add. CMZ says, Colin's a plaintiff in one case, so how's he trying to avoid depositions? Well, he enlisted in the Army. And he's a plaintiff, you're right. How is he going to prosecute as a plaintiff if he's in the Army? He enlisted. He must be in boot camp as we speak. I don't know if he's gone yet. Thank you for your 5. Edward Kirkpatrick says the plan, everyone was on notice with presentment period ending. Yep. Multiple hearings were it was mentioned. Yep. He's only a witness in that case. Yep. You're right, Edward. Gigi's got your back always is back. She says, I'm late, but I'm sure the devil is available to prep Proctor. Thanks for your 5, Gigi. We're so glad you're back. I hope you're feeling better. From your shoulder surgery. Sindra, the accountant, says, would Proctor's extractions show communications from the House defendants? Yes. 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 And they have made a motion to keep all of those communications sealed. And they won that motion so far. So far, those communications will be sealed. It is my opinion that there are many communications between the Haas defendants and Proctor and other members of the Norfolk DA's office, because that is what their protective order motion was about. They don't want any of their communications with Norfolk DA employees, including Michael Proctor, Tully, Michael Marcy, Adam Lally, Hank Brennan, victim witness advocates. They don't want any of that stuff becoming public. They really want their privacy. They're on a worldwide privacy tour, like South Park, season 26, episode 2, the worldwide privacy tour of Harry and Meghan of Canada. Linda Houston said, did they just get Karen on the show to insult her? Kind of felt that way, right, Linda? Kind of felt that way. Thank you, Miss Susan B, for your super sticker. Thank you very much for your 10. I appreciate you. It's Susan R says, my heart breaks for Karen. Not only is John not her ex, he was her partner who died in a shocking way. I'm grieving my partner who died suddenly. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Susan. She's still grieving him. If she has even had time to do that. No, I don't think she has. So sad. I know. She hasn't had a normal life since January 29th of 2022. It's been almost 4.5 years. And she lives, breathes, and sleeps this case. And that is her life now. This is her life. And she's going to try and, I think she's going to try and turn it into a positive by fighting for other victims of the same corruption that victimized her. Thank you, Susan, for turning in from Canada. King of Kinglers says, was AJ just out to lunch? Oh, no, that's him sitting right next to her. Hey, guy, maybe do some lawyer question blocking. Thank you for your 5 and your thoughts. Pink Crown says, my niece went to Bishop Thean for a year. I have kids there. That's the school that the niece was accepted to, that they went out to celebrate. Good morning, Melanie from SoCal. You're on the best coast. Love your show. Safe flight to Wembley and have a wonderful time. Thank you. Thank you so much for your 5. I appreciate you. Flowersky says, Mel, come to Primrose Hill. It's a village in the city. I'll introduce you to all the locals. Walk to Camden Market, along the canal, or through Regent's Park. I don't know how to pronounce that. Or if there's a typo, to Mary LeBon. Mary LeBon? Mary LeBon? Primrose Hill. All right, I'm writing it down. We have to come back. We have to come back after 4 o'clock to find out what the judge has to say. Primrose Hill. Marleybone. That's the way I was going to pronounce it. Marleybone. Marleybone. Anybody watch the Tonys? Can we talk about the Tonys for a second? Yes, everyone says Primrose Hill is the place to go. Joe Harvey says, in the propaganda media, most interviews are either a puff piece or a hatchet job. It feels that way, doesn't it? That's why many people come to YouTube for their actual news, to listen to people who aren't afraid to shout their opinions. Gigi, thank you so much for your Cash App. Says, I hope you had a great weekend off to physical therapy. We all are, everyone missed you, Gigi, and they're so happy that you're back. Thank you so much for thinking of me when you're the one who's in pain all the time. Roberta. Oh, Roberta says, Conrad Hotel, Westminster, near the Palace. I think I might like an Airbnb because I like more room. I like a little apartment. Conrad Hotel, Westminster. Thank you, Roberta, near the Palace. Guess we got to go to the Palace, right? Are they can you go to the Palace? Can you do a tour? Brenda, thanks for your very, very generous Venmo. Says, thanks for all you do, Melanie. Oh, thank you, Brenda, for watching and caring. And Betsy, thank you. XOXO. I love you guys so much. And Andrea, so happy to see your face, especially on a Monday with a gif of a guy getting hit in the head with a shovel that says Monday on it. That's pretty hilarious. You guys are so funny. You keep me laughing. You really do. Let's see. Hold, please. All right. I wanted to talk to you about, let's see. I says, what Proctor wished for, Karen Reed has come to a level of full circle on an episode, Jen. Tem says, spending time with your precious child is golden. Oh, I see what you did there with the Harry Styles reference. I get it. It's so funny because when she was 6, she's always been a huge One Direction fan. So when she was 6, One Direction came on tour. And I said it was really expensive to go to Madison Square Garden at the time. Or I forget where he was playing here. It was a stadium tour. I mean, One Direction. It was a stadium tour. And I think it was Giant Stadium or whatever the hell they call it now. And it's in New Jersey. The tickets were so expensive. So I looked at Buffalo. They were playing also at Buffalo Stadium. And I have a friend who lives in Buffalo. So it was far less expensive to fly to Buffalo to see One Direction. And it was amazing. It was so good. Though, let me tell you, those guys are amazing performers. It was so much fun. And it's like we're closing the loop full circle on that now that she has graduated high school, we are going to see Harry again. And this time, instead of going to Buffalo, we are going to London. And so, the circle of life. The circle of life. Yellow Ledbettero says, it's okay that you're not okay is a great book on sudden loss. It saved me. Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting us know and for suggesting that. The Quiet One says, I'm taking my daughter to Harry Styles at Madison Square Garden. I have no idea where to stay or how to get around New York City. The subways are your friend. New York City is a grid. So everything is all in number order. I mean, if you go into the garden, depends on where you want to stay. You could stay at a hotel near the garden. It is kind of less expensive in that area, actually. There's also tons of Airbnbs everywhere. And New York City has a really easy subway system. There's maps everywhere. You can also get a subway map on your phone. And there's Ubers everywhere and yellow cabs everywhere. You're going to have a great time. It's going to be amazing. I don't know where you live or where you're coming from, but that's awesome. Tammy says it was MetLife Stadium. I brought my daughter to that concert also. The whole stadium bounced. I loved it. I love it. And I've been listening to this music since my kids were little because I always let them pick the music in the car. When they're in the car with me, we listen to what they want to listen to ever since they were young. And it's always been One Direction, Taylor Swift. I know all the songs. A lot of people in the chat are giving you advice on New York City. I don't know your budget, so it's hard for me to give you advice, but you can, from Western Mass, you can look for Airbnbs. If you're like, I'm not staying live until 4. No, I'm going to jump off for a bit and then we'll come back. Yeah, you guys are like, I'm done with the Today Show. This interview was the final straw for me. Noonan interview. I'm going to do it in a separate show. This is the show on Proctor. So we're going to do Noonan in a separate show. Why don't we come back? Let's take a lunch break. Hold on a second. Let's take a lunch break. We'll come back at 1:30. All right, let me just set it up. So give me a second. Let's play something for you. Let me play a video for you while I like to entertain you while I do things off camera. So let's take a look. These are here's some news pieces from this morning about Michael Proctor's hearing today, but they do not talk about what happened at the hearing. This is just early morning news about the hearing that we watched already. So just take a look at this while I set up the stream for 1:30, if you don't mind. I know you won't. Leading off here is Boston 25. Hold on. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Tonys. I'm going to shut my camera off while I do what I got to do.
The disgraced former investigator for the state police asking a judge to delay his planned appearance in court.
Yeah, so he is scheduled to give a deposition in the wrongful death lawsuit that was filed against Karen Reed. Boston 25 News reporter Ryan Breslin joining us live now from Plymouth Superior Court. Ryan, it all comes as another new lawsuit filed by Reed shows more derogatory text from Michael Proctor.
Nicole and Ray, that's right. Former State Trooper Michael Proctor was supposed to be questioned by Reed's attorneys today in that wrongful death lawsuit against her. However, a protective order filed on Friday now says that he is unavailable. The timing of the filing of this protective order coming just a day after Karen Reed filed a new lawsuit against Massachusetts State Police and Canton Police, alleging a system-wide failure of law enforcement led to her wrongful prosecution over 3 years. That lawsuit includes vulgar, profanity-laced text messages between Proctor and former Canton officer Sean Good that used derogatory racial remarks aimed at African Americans and Asians, as well as offensively explicit references to women. These are different from the texts about Karen Reed that he read aloud during her first trial. He called Reed a, quote, whack job, talked about her medical issues, and wrote, quote, no nudes so far, while going through her phone. Proctor was later fired from his role with state police in March of 2025. A hearing will be held this morning at about 8:45 to go over that protective order. For now, we're live in Plymouth. Ryan Breslin for your local station, Boston 25 News.
Thank you. Boston 25's extensive coverage of the Karen Reed case spans more than 4 years. You can head to our website to view all of our coverage, including the full filing of Reed's lawsuit against Canton and state police. Just go to boston25news.com.
Well, happening today.
An emergency hearing is going to be held this morning in the Karen Reed case.
That's right. Embattled ex-state trooper Michael Proctor is going to be trying to reschedule a deposition that's set for today. WBZ's Jordan Jagelins are following the developments live from our studio. Jordan?
Chris and Paula, it comes just days after racist text messages allegedly found on Proctor's personal phone came to light in a new lawsuit filed by Karen Reed. Now, Michael Proctor is asking the court to postpone a deposition connected to a wrongful death lawsuit filed against Reed by the family of John O'Keefe. Proctor is a witness in that case. The former lead investigator in Reed's case was scheduled to be questioned today by Reed's attorneys. According to the emergency motion filed in court, Proctor is looking to delay that deposition due to personal circumstances. Last week, Karen Reed made explosive allegations in a new lawsuit filed against the Massachusetts State Police and Canton Police Departments. The allegations include dozens of vulgar and sexist messages between Proctor and a former Canton police sergeant. Proctor's legal team argues that he needs more time to prepare for today's deposition. Reed's attorneys are opposing his efforts. That hearing will take place this morning at 8:45 a.m. Live in the studio, Jordan Jagelins, WBZ News.
Former state trooper Michael Proctor is expected to appear in a court hearing as part of the Karen Reed wrongful death lawsuit.
But he's filed an emergency protective order to delay his deposition. NBC 10's Minash Kongwari is live outside the courthouse in Plymouth. Now, Minash, legal experts are calling the timing of the order questionable. Why is that?
Yeah, that's exactly what our NBC 10 legal analyst Michael Coyne is saying. He says people ask to reschedule all the time. But in this particular case, when you look at Michael Proctor's reason and the timing, well, there's some speculation there. So let me bring you up to speed on this ongoing saga. This case we're talking about right now is the wrongful death suit filed by John O'Keefe's family against Karen Reed. As you know, Karen Reed was acquitted for the death of John O'Keefe, so his family filed this lawsuit. Proctor today was supposed to have a deposition. Karen Reed's lawyers were going to be deposing him, but then in a new filing, Proctor and his attorneys said the date is, quote, no longer workable due to a variety of circumstances. And they named them, the timing, and they said that Proctor wasn't able to prepare. That was filed on Friday. Well, here's why our legal expert is raising an eyebrow. On Thursday, Karen Reed released a whole host of derogatory and racist texts allegedly sent by Proctor and a Canton police sergeant. And they were so bad that the state police and Canton police issued separate statements condemning the two.
My guess is it's going to be addressed by the judge in a very serious and potentially harsh fashion. So there are significant costs potentially involved here. So I do not expect that the court will look at this or treat it lightly. I think that even if sometimes things get in the way of the legal schedule, the timing on this is incredibly suspect.
Yes, he did say disposed. I picked up on that too. Disposing him. Yacht today, Satan. Yacht today. Yacht today, Satan. Michael Coyne was right. They're coming back at 4:15. They got to submit supplemental papers by 4 p.m. today. And there are only, it is only being stayed, the subpoena, for 24 hours. So he may be disposed tomorrow. Yacht today, Satan. Oops.
So today, Proctor's attorneys are going to plead their case to a judge on why they say that they deserve this emergency order. We'll, of course, keep you updated on what ultimately ends up happening here. But for right now, we're live here in Plymouth. Manoj Kongwari, NBC 10 Boston.
I like this guy. I like Manoj Kongwari. How do we feel about him? I like him. I think he's good. I think he's good. Disposing him. All right. I'm going to teleport you. I've scheduled it for 12:45 so I can get a little bit more of a lunch break and eat my bacon, egg, and cheese before it's cold. It's probably already cold. However, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me remind you of this. Did you guys see Aaron Berg's wild take on this? Hold on one second. Thank you, Mass Dad. This was earlier. I don't know. Mass Dad, I will respond to you in a moment. I will. It was not that one. It wasn't the normal Zoom number. It was a different Zoom number. I'll send it to you as soon as I'm off here. But thank you for this. Hang on one second. This was a wild take by Dave Ehrenberg on Karen Reed. And it's on YouTube. So give me a second so I can find it. Boop, boop. Hold please. Oh, wait. I think I know where I put it. Somebody wrote a note on or a comment on one of my shows from trial 1. And they're like, you're so annoying. You can never find anything. Yeah, try and do a live show for 5 hours at a time by yourself and get back to me. Something else that was supposed to happen today was that Samantha Pellrine and her husband were supposed to have a what do you call it? Probable cause hearing in Plymouth District Court. It's not on the calendar. That entire case has been sealed. That's the Plymouth police officer and her husband who are arrested for allegedly SAing their foster child that they adopted since he was 14. If anybody can find any footage of that, let me know. Here, check this out. I really don't know who Dave Ehrenberg is, but this is his wild take on Karen Reed's new lawsuit. Listen to this.
Let's bring in former state attorney for Palm Beach County,
Oh, that's who he is.
Florida, Dave Ehrenberg. David, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So, Dave, this is a different case.
I think he's friends with Jennifer Coffendorfer, which pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Here, listen to this.
Case here from a regular criminal case. So, what does Karen Reed have to prove?
Good to be back with you, Gio. She's got to prove it's more than just an isolated conduct here, a couple rogue cops, that this is more endemic to their agencies. And it led to actual malfeasance, like doctoring evidence and tampering and all these other things she's alleging. But quite frankly, although these cops acted very badly with their words, there's really no evidence that they tampered with any evidence, that it led to bad actions. And that's why I think it's going to be an uphill climb for her to win this lawsuit. I think this lawsuit's more of a PR offensive because she's already being sued as a defendant in other civil lawsuits after she was acquitted.
You think it's a PR stunt? You don't think it's endemic? Do you not know that Proctor's supervisors like Yuri Buchanan and Tully and Fanning were acknowledging his disgusting messages with their thumbs up, that they were definitely 100% on notice of everything that was going on? What? He's saying, Karen Reed, listen to this again. There's no evidence that they were, okay.
Actual malfeasance, like doctoring evidence and tampering and all these other things she's alleging.
How about the fact that Michael Proctor, according to Judge Cannoni, hid the Sally Port video in a drawer in his office until after the first trial? How about that? The judge even said it. Nobody ever looked for ring camera footage in the neighborhood, because certainly if they wanted to prove that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car, there would be some ring camera footage in the neighborhood of her doing just that, or fleeing the scene with a shattered taillight, right? What? This is again. Yeah, his text messages are really bad, but she's not going to be able to prove that it was endemic to their agencies and that it led to actual malfeasance. Really? Really? The fact that Michael Proctor's text messages said that he wanted to shove a nightstick up someone's butt, plant a bag of coke on him, and tell him you're going in, that doesn't tell you that he's willing to cross that line of planting evidence. Okay, go on with your bad self. Go on with your bad self. You don't think a jury is going to be able to make that leap? Okay, cool.
Their agencies, and it led to actual malfeasance, like doctoring evidence and tampering and all these other things
that
she's
never
alleging.
happens.
But quite frankly, although these cops acted very badly with their words, there's really no evidence that they tampered with any evidence, that it led to bad actions. And that's why I think it's going to be an uphill climb.
You know why? You know why else? Because there's no metadata. There's no metadata on everything, because the judge said it didn't matter that there was metadata. How about all the proctoring equipment that Colleen Crawford put in for $20,000 of video editing equipment? And then when they pulled it up on the screen, we saw all the video editing programs and all the choppy video from inside the Sally Port and the ghosts appearing and disappearing around the taillight. And by the way, that video was inverted, so it looked like it was the driver's side taillight when it was really the passenger side taillight. Really? You don't think a jury is going to be able to make that leap?
Win this lawsuit. I think this lawsuit's more of a PR offensive because she's already being sued as a defendant in other civil lawsuits.
This lawsuit is a PR offensive because the O'Keefes are suing her for wrongful death for a car accident that didn't happen, and the carriers are never, ever going to pay. You think this is an offense because the Haas plaintiffs, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, who both destroyed their cell phones, and Colin Albert sued her for defamation along with Aiden Carney? So this is a PR stunt? Okay.
Lawsuits after she was acquitted.
That's such an interesting point. And mentioning that acquittal here, could the fact that Reed was acquitted in her murder trial, could that support her allegations that law enforcement mishandled the investigation?
She's going to use that, yes. But at the same time, she was convicted of a much lower offense, operating a vehicle while drunk. And the first trial ended in a...
We got to point out that she was convicted of something. Okay, thank you, Cherie. Thank you. Is it watermarked? I can get it. We just read it. We already read it. Sheree, tell me you just started watching without telling me you just started watching. We read it like about, I don't know, an hour ago. Just rewind. Thank you, though. Thank you for giving me the information. We read it already.
Jury, so it's not like the jurors just said, "Oh, yeah, this is ridiculous, throw it out," But I think it's going to be hard for her to show that the cops had not just bad thoughts, but that translated into bad actions because the evidence against her was pretty strong, and the defense had.
Oh my God! Did we watch the same trial? The evidence against her was pretty strong. Which part? The part where a couple of medical experts said that John was definitely attacked by a dog, and the part where Dr. La Posada said he wasn't hit by a car, so it doesn't matter, and the part where the ARCA experts who were paid by the FBI to conduct an investigation into this investigation said there was no car accident. Dude, I'm sorry, what?
Cops had not just bad thoughts, but that translated into bad actions because the evidence against her was pretty strong. And the defense had a theory in response that was totally ludicrous, but yet the jurors clearly hated Michael Proctor and the police.
What? They had a theory that was totally ludicrous. I'm actually twitching. The defense had a theory that was totally ludicrous? What? You mean the part where John O'Keefe was not hit by a car? He wasn't. Where are the injuries from the bumper marks? Sir, do you actually believe that John O'Keefe's elbow was attacked by a taillight and there were no fractures to his arm while she was going 24 miles an hour in reverse like Mario Andretti with enough snow to track a cat and backed up like 80 feet and that he was attacked by a taillight? Oh, come on, man. You can't be serious.
Police and that actions because the evidence against her was pretty strong. And the defense had a theory in response that was totally ludicrous, but yet the jurors clearly hated Michael Proctor and the police. And that, I think, led to jury nullification here.
So what happens next, Dave?
Wow. Did he watch the trial? He must have gotten a threatening letter too, says Chrissy Noel. How about, wow. The jurors hated Michael Proctor. Well, I guess if all the people that think that John O'Keefe was really hit by a car should really also be mad at Michael Proctor, but they're not. They're out there simping for him. They stand with Michael Proctor still. They still stand with Michael Proctor. And they say, well, who cares about his text messages? What did that have to do with Karen Reed killing John O'Keefe with her car? She still killed John O'Keefe with her car. So who cares about his messages?
Let's go to trial.
Wait.
Hated Michael Proctor and the police, and that, I think, led to jury nullification here.
So what happens next, Dave? Does this go to trial?
I think it's very unlikely that this civil lawsuit will go to trial, Gio, because first, it's got to survive a motion to dismiss. Now, if somehow she gets by a motion to dismiss where a judge disagrees with me and says, yeah, this is a good claim and let it continue, it's a logical claim, we'll assume everything she says is true, and she states a cause of action, then there's a possibility of a settlement between her and the police. But I think in a high-profile case like this that is so emotionally charged, I think that it is unlikely for the sides to settle, and it will go until, I believe, a court dismisses it before it ever hits a jury.
All right, Dave Ehrenberg, thank you so much for joining us. It's a fascinating trial for sure, a case, I should say. Thank you so much.
Definitely is.
All right.
Well, if you want to go watch that for yourselves, you can find it over on ABC News. Karen Reed suing police after acquittal on murder charges. That's the take of Dave Ehrenberg. He's the former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida. And I think he's commentated on other cases as well, right? I mean, I think it's time for the ice cream truck. Come on. It says sleepless sleuth. Other people are saying that's not going to age well. Wild take, in my opinion, wild take. But, that's just me, and I'm a conspiracy theorist idiot. So, that's all. That's all. I've only examined every Adelson case. Other ones, too. Maybe Murdoch. Do I remember him from? I think he also might have a YouTube channel. I don't know. Wild. All right, you guys. Let's go take a lunch break. We're coming back at 1:45. I'm going to teleport you over to the 1:45 stream where we are going to watch and comment and review together the newly released interview of North Andover police officer Patrick Noonan when he was interviewed like 4 days after shooting Kelsey Fitzsimmons. We're going to watch that together. So go eat your lunch, come back. I'm going to teleport you over there. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy in the meantime. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. And Lone Star Living says, I don't understand what these media giants gain to keep this corruption going. I don't either. I mean, according to Craig Melvin, so many people think that Karen Reed is guilty. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's like one pink shirt, one blue shirt for every 5 pink ones. And hang on just 1 second. So let's go. I mean, I say we'll talk about the Tonys in the next show. All right. And then we're going to come back and do, I guess, the 4:15 p.m. hearing, the Zoom hearing. And see if they came back with any more evidence to convince the judge that Michael Proctor's deposition should be adjourned to any time other than tomorrow. So they should be prepping him right now. Right. Don't you think? That's what I think. All right, you guys, I love you. I'll see you at 1:45. So teleport on over, buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Thanks, moderators. I love you so much. Who knows how many shows we're going to do today, but we're just going to keep on keeping on until the right people or person is in handcuffs. Thanks, Lone Star Living. I'll see you guys really soon. Safe travels. Bye.